Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Lamiria Kamara here with Hemp and Cannabis News. This is a story out of the Winston-Salem Journal. Winston-Salem is a city in North Carolina, a city that I just moved from North Carolina. I've been very involved in North Carolina's hemp pilot program, really making sure that people of color are not left out of this program. Our ancestors grew hemp for hundreds of years in this country, and we need to make sure that African American growers, Latino American growers have the right to grow hemp. It's very important. Now this story, a Forsyth County, North Carolina legislator has sponsored a state Senate bill that would legalize the possession of up to 4 ounces of cannabis flower or plant material for personal use before one can be charged with a Class 1 misdemeanor. The language of the bill redefines less than 4 ounces of cannabis as explicitly not a controlled substance. Now, in case you don't know about controlled substance, a controlled substance, or CS, you might see CS, is under the Controlled Substance Act of 1970, which was put into law under the Nixon administration and is U.S. federal drug policy. And it places all substances regulated by federal law into one of 5 schedules. Now, a Schedule 1 substance is a drug with a high abuse potential and with no medical benefits. Cannabis, or marijuana, has been placed since 1970, placed on this Schedule 1 and was criminalized in this country back in 1930, despite the fact that it was widely prescribed by medical professionals as the number one prescribed medication, all the way up through the 1910s and 20s. But anyway, cannabis was placed on Schedule 1 as a dangerous drug with zero medical benefits. Now, I'll talk about more on this in another video. Now, the drug war has produced profoundly unequal outcomes across racial groups, manifesting as racial discrimination by law enforcement and disproportionately affecting African Americans and Latinos with much higher arrest and incarceration rates. Systematic racism, or institutional racism, is when lawmakers and powerful people and powerful corporations create laws or influence the creation of laws, policies, practices, and build economic and political structures based on racial bigotry. We have quite a bit of this going on in this country and within our government. The so-called drug wars are in effect systematic racism practiced by federal and state governments that have effectively and intentionally destroyed communities of color for decades, stemming as far back as the 1930s, and we'll go into this in another video. But back to the bill. The bill also includes the possibility of submitting a petition to the Superior Court to potentially expunge previous possession convictions that would no longer be considered illegal under the proposed law. Now, this is important. Why should you care? Why is this important? Now, the emerging above ground marijuana market is poised to make billions of legal profits in the sale of cannabis for governments, wealthy investors, and business owners who are predominantly in this industry, a predominantly white male industry. And these participants in government and in private industry are doing the same thing that generations of people of color have been doing, but have been arrested and locked up for decades. The sponsor of the bill is Senator Paul Lowe. He's a Democrat of Forsyth County. And he said he introduced the bill in an effort to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of cannabis, which I think is a good thing. It's a first step. Currently in North Carolina, possessing a half ounce or less of cannabis is a Class 3 misdemeanor, punishable by up to 20 days in jail. The highest class of misdemeanor is a Class 1, which is punishable by up to 120 days in jail, and under current laws, possession of 1.5 ounces or more of cannabis is a Class 1 felony drug conviction, punishable by up to 5 months in jail, plus you have a felony drug conviction on your record for the rest of your life. It'll affect your jobs. It'll affect you in the job market. It'll affect you in trying to get a college education. It'll haunt you for the rest of your life. It'll destroy you. The proposed bill would raise the lower limit for a Class 1 felony to 1 pound of cannabis or more being charged with a Class 1 felony. I say we need to remove that. I think it should be a Class 1 felony to lock people up for using cannabis. If people are addicted to drugs, they need help. They don't need incarceration in a slave labor camp. I think this bill needs your support. I think it doesn't matter whether you live in North Carolina, where in the United States, or where in the world you live. Support. Every state needs the support of its citizens, of the whole. There's power in numbers. I think it's time that the courts rule on expunging previous marijuana possession convictions. The prisons are still overrun with people who are sitting in prison because they have simple marijuana possession convictions. Well, as I said, millions and billions of dollars are being raked in through the legal above-ground marijuana market. Now, I think communities who have suffered irreparable harm, I think they need to receive reparations from the government. What would those reparations look like? I don't know. Perhaps these communities deserve the right to plant, cultivate, manufacture, distribute, and sell cannabis and cannabis products. Perhaps this should be their economic reparations. What do you think? I would like to know. Please feel free to express your comments on this page below. I'd really like to know what your thoughts are. In the meantime, this is your Cannabis Report for today. Lemuria Kamara here, and I hope that you have a very magical day. Bye-bye.